Hey, what's going on, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over Jaxon Smith Njigba, slot receiver out of Ohio State. One of the more interesting players in this draft. Many see him as a little overrated, but a lot of them see him as potentially an underrated player that could be a steal in the draft. But let's go over him right now. So Jaxon Smith Njigba, 6'1", 196 pounds per the NFL Combine, 21 years old, and he was a junior from Ohio State. Now, for the stats in 2022, it's a little skewed because he had a hamstring injury that took him out for the majority of the season, and then when he was healthy, decided to focus on the NFL draft. So he only played in 3 games, had 5 catches for 43 yards. However, massive season in 2021, where in 13 games he had 95 catches, 1,006 yards, 16.9 yards per catch, and 9 total touchdowns, and a 141 QBR when targeted. But I mean, in the Rose Bowl, he had 15 catches for 347 yards, which was a Rose Bowl record, and 3 touchdowns. Put his name on the map in the Rose Bowl at the end of that 2021 college season for the New Year's Day Bowl. I have a lot of notes on Jaxon Smith Njigba, and for my strengths, he's a refined and fluid route runner. Really love his route running ability. Creates a great separation at a high level. He's very good after the catch. He has great body control and tracking ability. He had a low drop rate as well. Had a 4.8 in 2021. Only 3 wide receivers in this class had a lower drop rate. He tested very well in agility drills. He was first in the 3-cone and in the 20-yard shuffle, which is extremely telling for a really good slot receiver in the NFL. If they're good at those 2 drills, they'll have high agility, which means that they'll get open really fast, which is extremely important for slot receivers. And speaking of slot receivers, he can play in the slot and the NFL right away. I think he's a pro-ready slot based on his traits. And he also played with 2 NFL first-round wide receivers, Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, and still outproduced them in 2021, having 1,600 yards. Meanwhile, Garrett Wilson had 1,050, and Chris Olave had 900. However, of course, he still has weaknesses. Only had 1 year of production at Ohio State, which was 2021. Injuries last year, and then really didn't play his freshman year. His best fit is in the slot, and he doesn't really fit as a wide receiver 1, as like an X or as like the first option on a team. Just because I don't think he has the build for it. I don't think he just doesn't really make the mold of an X or as like a wide receiver 1 of like a top 10 receiver, kind of like that. He fits majority as a slot, and he could be a premier slot receiver in the NFL, but that's where he's really limited to. He also had low red zone targets when Wilson and Olave were on the field, which really kind of meant to me that he wasn't the first option on the most important plays. He had 5 touchdowns when Olave and Wilson were just flat out not on the field, 3 of them coming in the Rose Bowl. And then, of course, playing with 2 NFL wide receivers meant somebody had to get open. And if a team is going up against Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, they're going to have to bracket some of them. They're going to have to put 2 guys on them. They're going to have to double team them at the line. They're going to have to jam them. They're going to have to leave the middle of the field open. And so what happened was JSN was just able to find open holes in the field because they just had to cover those 2 massive guys on the outside. And so Jaxon Smith Njigba was able to get free looks. But I don't think that still accounts for a lot of the production that he had. He had a lot of production, but I don't think it would have been 1,600 yards production if it wasn't for those 2 receivers being there. And then the last weakness is, of course, that he lacks deep field speed and explosiveness. I think some people maybe overrate how slow he could be. He's phenomenal after the catch, but no, he's not going to be like a Chris Olave where he's going to be 50 yards down the field with 4 to 5 yards of separation. I just don't think he has that kind of deep field speed or explosiveness. All right, here's a good route from JSN from his pro day. Traditional corner route that a lot of NFL wide receivers will end up running. Fakes the inside and then plants his feet very well and then runs after the catch. JSN in the Rose Bowl, of course, his best game as a pro on the outside, mainly as the X receiver on an island on this. Hard to see over here because I don't have the all-22 for this game, but gets the cornerback facing this way and plays on his back half, manages to beat him in coverage, and then runs all the way for a touchdown Very good play from Jaxon Smith Njigba. Here's JSN at the catch point. You can see him over here in the slot, or technically at the Y, in a two set over here. In the slot, it goes up against the slot cornerback, and just aggressive catches over him. As we can see that again, another beautiful ball placement by CJ Stroud, just slightly over the top, skimming the helmet of the cornerback. And JSN's able to bring it in. Here's a play against Utah that shows off JSN's athletic ability. We could see him manage to just get 1 foot in bounds for a spectacular catch. That's athletic ability on full display. Here's a great route by JSN, showing off why he's so good at route running. You can see this is just an out route, but gets to the corners, outside leverage, beats him to the outside, and then plants his foot in the ground hard here, and fluidly is able to just get to the outside and beat him. So this is JSN's biggest play in his college football career, in my opinion. So a 38-38 game in the Rose Bowl. Jaxon Smith Njigba's already got over 200 yards. He's been playing phenomenal, has 2 touchdowns up to this point. And so what Ohio State is going to run is they're going to run a fade route with JSN to the end zone, and they're going to have, I'm pretty sure that's Marvin Harrison Jr. over here. They're going to have him run a curl. And when JSN, here you can see, he hits the fade right there. CJ Stroud just throws him back shoulder, and he tracks the ball into the end zone, making an NFL-level catch. Looking at it from another angle, just a back shoulder catch, and manages to get 2 feet in bounds, that's an NFL touchdown. Here's JSN again, once again in the slot. However, he is blocking here, able to flatten and pancake I think that's the slot cornerback, and Ohio State runs in for a touchdown. So underrated ability for slot receivers is their run blocking ability, and JSN can run block. Here's another good play by Jaxon Smith Njigba from the slot, going one-on-one against this linebacker DB-ish. I don't necessarily know what his position is. But Jaxon Smith Njigba, first of all, great cut. However, I'm slightly confused in this play. So the defense is running zone from what I can basically see. So after JSN cuts, it seems like the slot cornerback on this play really only cares about what Olave is doing, runs towards his side instantly. And I talked about previously how, the teams had to prepare for Olave and Garrett Wilson for the majority of the time, because those are going to be two first-round NFL receivers. And frequently JSN was left kind of open. He was given a lot of single coverage looks, maybe like only one zone looking towards his side, and they were bracketing heavily Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson to limit the damage. So that's why JSN got open on a hell of a lot of plays. But it seems like, from how the play kind of looks out, it seems like miscommunication on the defense. You can see him pointing towards this player. This player kind of had to get the middle of the field. This guy was responsible for the slot. Somebody had to be responsible for the deep field, because it looks like he isn't. But miscommunication, and JSN with a quick, beautiful juke, by the way, and takes it all the way for the touchdown as well. And then obviously this play shows my final weakness about JSN, and that's because he doesn't have the biggest deep field and deep threat ability in the slot. Shakes the slot cornerback here on the curl route. One cuts the DB, but you can see Joey Porter Jr. outside over here manages to catch up to him, but still ran for a good 30 yards after the catch. However, I think on the film, he does get tracked down quite a bit, even when other receivers probably would score touchdowns on other runs. All right, so my player comp for Jaxon Smith Njigba is going to be Keenan Allen, the 5-time Pro Bowler for the Los Angeles Chargers. They have similar frames, except Keenan Allen is a bit bigger, 10 pounds heavier, and 1 inch taller per the combine measurements. They both also had 1 year of production. Keenan Allen was in 2011 when he had 1,300 yards at Cal. And then they were both injured their junior year. For Keenan Allen, it was a knee injury. For JSN, it was a hamstring that both killed their last season going into the NFL draft. They both tested very similar. They both had great. They both had good 3 cones, 20-yard shuffles, and they ran the same amount. JSN was a 4.3 unofficial, and Keenan Allen was a 4.56 unofficial. They're both refined route runners. Keenan Allen was a Pro Bowler, and frequently managed to get open due to his route running ability. He was a route technician, and they both also had doubts for their positional values. Keenan Allen, JSN were both big slot guys. They're both big slots technically. Keenan Allen, big slot at 6'2", 206. JSN is now more of like an average slot. But they were both doubted in the fact of if they should be drafted really high, because they're not. Keenan Allen was more of an X-body receiver, but played majority in the slot. So they both had concerns about that. And then their differences, of course, was Keenan Allen was actually a cornerback out of high school and transitioned to receiver. That's kind of like the lore for Keenan Allen. Then had a massive injury, transitioned to receiver. And then Keenan Allen only played with one NFL receiver at Cal, which was Marvin Jones, who went in the 5th round. Meanwhile, JSN played with Olave and Wilson, who were both first-round receivers and made an impact right away. So all right, so Jaxon Smith Njigba's grade is going to be a 6.4, which is a late first-round pick. I think he has the potential to be a really good NFL slot receiver, where he'll probably remain for the remainder. Fuck! I have a 6.4 grade on Jaxon Smith Njigba, a.k.a. late first-round pick. I have him as the potential to be a good NFL slot receiver, where I see him for the majority of his NFL career, and even he could be a potential Pro Bowler. Teams likely to draft the Giants, Texans, Vikings, and the Chargers. All right, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts about Jaxon Smith Njigba. Let me know some other players you want me to review in this class. I'll see you in the next one.